Hello, welcome to this lesson, which is on IELTS Writing Task 2. It's the double question essay. I'm going to teach you a structure from beginning right through to the end, how to do this sentence by sentence. Let's have a look. First, we need to think about the question prompt. Let's think about the question prompt because in the IELTS, it won't tell you what type of essay you have to write. You just have to look at the question prompt and think, that's the double question essay, or that's the advantages, disadvantages essay type. This applies to both general and academic. This is what the question prompt will look like on test day. This is what you're going to see on your paper. You're going to see some general instructions to spend about 40 minutes on the task. Then you're going to see the question prompt, and then you'll see the generic things about using your knowledge and writing 250 words. We need to think about this a bit more deeply. We need to look at this because it contains some parts that we need to understand. The first part it contains is a general statement. In fact, this contains 3 sentences. This question prompt contains 3 sentences. We're going to look at each sentence because each sentence is extremely important for the structure that we're about to learn. First sentence is a general statement. It says, formal exams are used to assess students at the end of each semester in many countries. It's just a general statement about formal exams. There's nothing particular about it. It's not a question. It's just a general background statement. Fine. The second sentence is a question. It's the question, what we call question 1. It says, why are these exams, formal exams, used by schools and universities? The third sentence is question 2. It says, what other types of assessment are possible? So we're faced with this. We have 3 sentences or 3 question parts. General statement, question 1 and a question 2. That's why this is called the double essay question. Let's look at the essay structure we're going to use, and I want you to write with me. I want you to write it sentence by sentence with me from beginning to end. There's no other way to really learn how to write an essay other than by writing essays. So let's do it sentence by sentence. Overall, the structure will be like this. We're going to have 4 paragraphs. Introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and a conclusion. Fine, that's the overall structure. That's easy. But what's inside each of these paragraphs? Well, this is what we're going to do in this live class. We're going to look at sentence 1 of the introduction, sentence 2 of the introduction, sentence 3 of the introduction, sentence 1 of the paragraph 1, sentence 2 of paragraph 1, etc., right through to the final sentence of the conclusion. Let's think about, not just think about, let's do it, how to write the introduction. Please get a pen ready. This is this part of your essay. If we magnify this, if we look at this a bit more closely, it looks like this. This is what the introduction is. Sentence 1, you rewrite that general statement. Remember how our question had 3 parts? The general statement, question 1, question 2. All you're really doing for your introduction is rewriting each of those sentences. That becomes your introduction. So let's have a closer look. So sentence 1, you rewrite the general statement. Sentence 2 of your introduction, you introduce answer to question 1. Sentence 3, you introduce an answer to question 2. Here's the general statement again from our question. It said, formal exams are used to assess students at the end of each semester in many countries. Question 1 was that, and question 2 is that. Fine. Let's do sentence 1, rewrite that general statement. Now I want you to write. I want you to transform this into your own words. Say the same thing, but just write it in your own words. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to rewrite this sentence in other words, to say the same thing. Your 3 minutes starts now. Think about synonyms. Think about changing nouns to verbs or verbs to nouns. Think about different ways to say the same thing. If you're on YouTube, please like this class and please feel free to write your answers into the comments below. Herman says, academic examinations are often used in many nationalities. Not quite. Nationalities is the wrong word. To generate an academic report for students. Good, Herman, it's good. Nationalities is the wrong word. Talking about countries, you can say used by many nationalities. That would be fine. Victor Jesus Belisario Lopez says, written testing systems are commonly applied in several countries. Oh, not quite, Victor. Several countries is very different to many countries. And we're talking about formal exams, so don't change it too much. You can just say formal exams or formal examinations. You have 1 minute left, by the way. Julia says, usually a formal assessment is used to check students' knowledge at the end of the study period in many countries. Good. You don't need to add any other information about what it does. We're just rewriting this statement. Suda says, in most countries, traditional method of assessing students is common. Good, it's close. In most countries, traditional methods of assessing students is common. Good. Maria says, how to verify students after each semester is a challenging issue these days. Formal exam is one of the solutions which is used to, okay, we're just rewriting this. They're all fine, but I don't get too creative. Don't get too creative. Just simply rewrite that. Don't add any information. Don't say what they do. Don't give anything else. We're just changing these words. Let me show you what I've done. This is my sentence here. So this is how I rewrote it. Let's read the general statement again. It says, formal exams are used to assess students at the end of each semester. So we've got formal exams, we've got assessment, we've got students, we've got end of the semester, and we have many countries. So I wrote this. Universities in most countries around the world tend to formally examine their students at the end of every semester. These two things say the exact same thing, but just in different words. So what have we got? Well, instead of formal exams are used, I said formally examine their students. So I've changed that noun exams into a verb examine. In many countries, I said in most countries around the world. At the end of each semester, I said at the end of every semester. Why? Because there's no other way to say that. And so I can't rewrite everything. I need to keep the meaning. So these two sentences basically say the same thing. And we have just written the first sentence of our introduction, which is fabulous. Let's write the second sentence where we need to introduce the answer to question one. Question one asked this: why are these exams, why are formal exams used by schools and universities? I want you to briefly answer this question in 2 minutes. Why are formal exams used by schools and universities? 2 minutes, one sentence. Good, Constantine. Well done. Your first sentence is excellent. And great use of the apostrophe. Great, Maria Huddy. Perfect sentence. Maria writes, these kinds of exams are used to assess students against what they are taught during that semester. Perfect. Herman, I just want you to answer the question simply. Sudha says, as many people consider this is the best way of knowing what a student has learned throughout the year. Good. A few grammatical issues. That's good, though. Good. Julia writes, these ways of assessing have been a conventional measure in the education system for many years. Good. That's fine. Well done. Victor says, it is believed by many educational institutions that written exams are the cheapest and most effective way, good, of assessment. Good. So you're heading down that path. That's fine. Prabhakar says these exams are used to assess students' academic skills as well as how well they understood the subject they learned. Good, and 2 minutes is up, and that's right. Essay writing, people try to make it too complex, and they think that the more complex that you are, the better your score will be. It's not like that. You need to be clear. Clarity is everything. Just answer that question. If I said to you, if I was just standing next to you and I said, why are formal exams used by schools and universities? And you would say, Jay, formal exams are used, well, let's see what I wrote. I wrote this, formal exams are carried out in order to measure learning progress and determine the particular academic level of their students. That's why they're used. To measure learning progress and to determine a particular academic level. This is my answer. There are many, many different possible answers. This was mine. Somebody talked about they're efficient and they're cheap. That's fine. You can do that too. Carry on with your line of thinking. We've written the second sentence of our introduction and it's good. Now let's write the third sentence. Introduce the answer to question 2, which asked, what other types of assessment other than formal examination are possible? You have 2 minutes to write this sentence. Don't write anything else, just answer the question. Other types, i.e. not formal assessment, not formal exam, rather. So think back to when you went to school. You had written exams, but what other ways can you assess a student? Sudha says research and projects could be other forms of examination to examine the students, or other ways to examine the students. Good. Research and projects. Well done. Excellent. Simple, clear. You can focus on your grammar. Maria says, although formal assessments are one of the best ways, other types of assessments such as assigning projects and doing research must be looked into. Here we're sort of getting off track. Not must be looked into, are possible or are alternatives. Julia says, although the traditional assessment is prevalent, there are some other alternatives such as authentic assessment and self-assessment. Beautiful, well done. Herman says project assessment and essays are feasible alternatives of other examinations. Great. Victor says presentations, reports, and group assessments can be other alternatives to written exams. Well done. Nantawan says a quiz or students' performance during workshops could be other forms of assessments. Beautiful. You've got the right idea. Well done. Precisely. So when I say to you, I'm standing next to you, there's no difference except for you just have to speak formally. I say, hey, what other types of assessment are possible? And you say, Jay, there are many different alternatives to whatever you wrote. This is what I wrote. I wrote, well, it's a little bit flowery. Despite the widespread usage of formal examinations, there are many other ways to examine students, including essay writing and interviews, to name but a few. I've simply answered that question. So let's have a look, because now we've written 1, 2, 3 sentences of our introduction. This is what my introduction looks like. It's 64 words and it's spot on. Universities in most countries around the world tend to formally examine their students at the end of every semester. Formal exams are carried out in order to measure learning progress and determine the particular academic level of their students. Despite the widespread usage of formal examinations, there are many other ways to examine students, including essay writing and interviews, to name but a few. This is what the IELTS examiners are looking for. Why? Because task achievement, the first criteria of IELTS writing, is you write on topic. If all you do is rewrite those 3 sentence parts, then you will be on topic and you will get full points for task achievement. Grammar, well, it's good. I'm a native speaker, fine. My grammar's fine. Vocabulary, I've shown off a little bit. Despite, widespread. What other big words have I used? In order to, so I've used a phrase here. Learning progress. Determine as a verb. So I've used some good language, but I've only used language that I understand. Don't use words that you don't really get, because they may be incorrect. And a better thing to do is to use a simple word you know than a complex word you don't know that's incorrect, right? Done. So we've written the introduction. Now we need to write paragraph 1. And let's follow the same method. Sentence by sentence, follow me. Let's do it. This is what it looks like. Paragraph 1. Let's look closely at it. It's sentence 1. And we're going to focus on question 1 of the question prompt. You answer question 1, you give reasons, you give examples, you restate the answer. Question 1 was, why are these exams used by schools and universities? So in the introduction, we briefly mentioned it. Now we go into more detail about it. This is where we can develop our ideas, and we can do the third IELTS writing criteria, which is about coherence or development of your essay. Cool. So, sentence 1 of paragraph 1, you need to answer question 1. Why are these exams, why are formal exams, these formal exams used by schools and universities? Further develop your, write 1 sentence. You have 3 minutes, a bit longer. It should also link to your introduction. So you're saying the same thing as your introduction, but just in different words, but you're just developing the idea, expanding the idea. So use the same idea as your introduction. Why are formal assessments or formal exams used by schools and universities? One sentence, answer this question. Great. So Herman has written one argument put forward in favor of using formal exams is that they assess the knowledge and theories that have been taught at schools. Beautiful. Well done. Julia writes, the effective results and the teacher's preferences are the reasons that can explain why this assessment is used widely in schools or widely by schools. Effective results and the teacher's preferences for formal exams are the reasons. Good, well done. Victor, written exams are implemented by universities and schools because they are cost effective. Great. So your paragraph, Victor, is going to expand that idea about cost effectiveness. Good. What else we got? You got 10 seconds to finish this sentence. Suda says universities and schools use this method of assessment as it is believed to be a very convenient way of knowing what students have learned. Beautiful. Well done. Cool. Let me show you mine because this gets a bit confusing because then you start to think, am I repeating myself? The answer is yes, you are repeating yourself, but just again in different words. It's fine to repeat the ideas. It's not fine to repeat the same language. So you're expressing that idea in different words, but essays are repetitive. If you think about an essay, this is what it is. The introduction tells the reader what you will tell them. Then you tell the reader. Then in the conclusion, you tell the reader what you told them. This is how you develop that logical development and coherence. This is what makes a good essay. It's repetitive, but it just uses different words to repeat the ideas. Cool. So I said, why are these exams used by schools and universities? In my introduction, I said something about measuring progress and determining academic level. Here I've said measuring progress and determining the particular level of a student through formal examination is important for many stakeholders. Now I'm building a development through my paragraph. Somebody said about cost effectiveness. You can see where my paragraph is going. I've reiterated or repeated the same idea from my introduction. This is fine. Now let's move on to sentence 2. We've done sentence 1. We've answered question 1. I now need to give reasons. So for mine, we measure progress and we determine the particular level of the student through formal examination. Why? Because it's important for stakeholders. Stakeholders might be the students or the teachers or the university administration people. In other words, the different people involved. So that's what I'm building my paragraph around. Yours might be different. That's fine. Now what I need to do is give reasons for what I have just written in the first sentence. After that, I'm going to give examples. So let's give reasons. Why are these exams used by schools and universities? Follow on from your first sentence. Away you go. You have 2 minutes. If you talked about cost effectiveness, give reasons why formal exams are cost effective. If you talked about how formal exams are efficient, give reasons why they're efficient or a reason. If you talked about why formal exams are preferred by teachers and students, give reasons why they're preferred by teachers and students. Good. So Maria's reason is that all the students can be assessed at the same time with minimum effort of the teachers. Beautiful. Great reason. Well done. Julia says this enables. We need someone. This enables teachers to assess a big group of children within a short period of time. Fantastic. Well done. Herman says, in other words, it's easier to measure students' skills with formal exams, especially paper-based exams, which open up an avenue for teachers to write feedback on the paper. Great. Victor says, the funds provided are limited and this kind of examination helps to save cost of staff and material used. Good. These are good reasons. Fine. Well done. Let's now look at the next part. Oh, first of all, let me show you mine. Okay. Let's read the entire paragraph so far. Measuring progress and determining the particular level of a student through formal examination is important for many people or stakeholders. Most importantly, the student wants, this is my reason why we do it. Why we assess formally. Most importantly, the student wants to be evaluated in order to know how well he or she is progressing. In addition, I've written 2 sentences, by the way. Universities and schools like to know how effective their teaching practices are. That's fine. Now, I've kind of cheated. I said sentence 2. If you want to write an additional sentence, that's fine. This structure is flexible. So if one sentence and you feel, oh, I could add a good second sentence here, do it. That's fine. This is a flexible structure. Let's now move. We've given a reason. Now let's give an example. But what I'll do first is I'll give you my example so you know what I've done here. So I wrote, and this is a personal experience. I have been both a student, this is my example, I have been both a student and a teacher, and on both occasions, I appreciated knowing whether or not I was progressing or whether my students were progressing. This is my example. So maybe you want to use something personal in your example. So why are these exams used by schools and universities? Give your example. You have 2 minutes. The examples, by the way, should connect to your reasons. If you want, you can start the sentence with, for example. Herman writes, take maths, for example. This subject clearly needs this methodology, this assessment in order to measure the progress level. Good. Methodology is the wrong word. Assessment, evaluation, examination. These are the words you should use there. Synonyms. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Please like the video and feel free to leave your sentences in the comments below. Suda says, for instance. It has been found that assessing students help the course makers to know what most students can take in and what part of the course are complicated for certain levels of class. Good, Suda. That's a complicated idea, and you've expressed it very well. It has been found that assessing students helps course makers to know what most students can absorb is probably a better word than take in, and what parts, plural, of the course are complicated for different levels. Well done. Good complex idea, well done. Julia says, for example, the assessment in many subjects can be offered as a test. Therefore, I would put a full stop and start a new sentence there, Julia. Therefore, comma, teachers can quickly receive the actual student's knowledge. Can receive evidence of students' knowledge would probably be better there. Joe Maria del San Pedro says, for instance, I undertook a final exam in my course using test papers and I found it easier to analyze. Good. Good, Joe Marie. Just keep took and found, not took and find. Victor says, to illustrate my view, the evaluation involves a few teachers and a paper which is very cheap to produce. Semicolon, the results are matched to standardized answers. Cool. Good. Just be careful there, Victor. You said standardized answers. That's impossible. Matched to standardized answers. Good. Well done. Cool. So here's mine. No, I read you that already. So let's look at the fourth sentence. We've answered question 1. We've given reasons. We've given examples. Now we just need a little concluding sentence, a little concluding summarizing sentence where we restate the answer. I'm going to show you mine. Mine says this: it is for these reasons that formal examinations are still widely used in schools and universities today. It is for these reasons. That's a nice concluding way to summarize, or to summarize, or in sum, or in short. These are different ways to do it. Let's write the fourth sentence of paragraph 1, summing up your idea. Let's have a look at this final sentence of the paragraph. Herman is quick off the blocks. He writes, this paragraph has evidenced that this evaluation method is trouble-free and therefore is popular in many schools and universities. I wouldn't start with this paragraph. I would start with something like, as can be seen, or to wit, or in summary, something a little bit clearer. We don't usually mention the word paragraph in the paragraph. Good though, well done. Julia writes, briefly, for that reason, formal assessment is widely used. For those reasons, formal assessment is widely used. Good, fine. Good, Julia. What other short summary sentences have we got? Suda writes, therefore, in order to find out the understanding of students and also to know if the course offered is effective, formal exams are used widely. Beautiful. Prabhakar, it is obvious from this that these exams in tertiary institutes are vital for both killing two birds with the one stone. Don't use idioms like that. You can use academic idioms such as in order to or according to, but don't talk about killing birds with one stone in an academic essay. That's fine though. Good lesson. Joe Marie says, for these reasons, comma, formal examinations are efficient to use for both students and teachers. Great. Victor says, therefore, comma, written tests help the health of the schools and universities' financial position. What about written tests help the financial position of schools and universities, not the health? That's a bit strange. Beautiful. I've read your mind. Fine. Let's have a look at my paragraph 1. I wrote, measuring progress and determining the... Wait. Before we do that, what did we do in paragraph 1? We did this. We answered question 1. It's the first sentence. We gave reasons. We gave examples. We restated the answer to question 1. Measuring progress and determining the particular level of a student through formal examination is important for many stakeholders. Why do we use formal examinations was question 1. My second sentence where I gave reasons. Most importantly, the student wants to be evaluated in order to know how well he or she is progressing. I added a sneaky little second sentence here to my reason. In addition, universities and schools like to know how effective their teaching practices are. Then I give some examples here. I have been both a student and a teacher, and on both occasions I appreciated knowing whether or not I was progressing or whether my students were progressing. My final sentence to wrap up the paragraph says, it is for these reasons that formal examinations are still widely used in schools and universities today. Cool. Now, I've written a pretty long paragraph there. It's 96 words. We're aiming for 250. In fact, my essay was a bit long, so if that sneaky sentence wasn't necessary, that's fine. Let's keep pushing on. How to write paragraph 2? Well, we do the same thing as paragraph 1. We're not going to write paragraph 2 today. You can do it in your own time if you want. I'm going to skip straight to the conclusion, but let's just briefly recap how to write the paragraphs. So we answer question 2 this time. We give reasons, we give examples, and we restate the answer in a short summary. Question 2 asked, what other types of assessment are possible? This is what I wrote. I said, formal examinations are not the only way to measure student performance, semicolon. There are a variety of ways to measure outcomes that are not formal per se. Instead of writing exams, students could have an end of semester interview where, that's an error, that should say where they share their knowledge. Or they may want to do something more creative and make something of their knowledge in the form of art or invention. One of the best assessments, now this was my reason, here's my example. One of the best assessments that I had at university involved me creating a portfolio of writing. This was less formal, but still an excellent way for me and my professor to evaluate my level of understanding. 102 words, probably a bit long again, but I was on a keyboard. In the IELTS, you have to write with a pen, which slows you down. And my writing's very messy with a pencil. Cool, so that's my paragraph 2. What did it do? It answered question 2. It's about question 2 of the question prompt. What did I do? Sentence 1, I answered the question. Sentence 2, I gave reasons. Sentence 3, I gave some examples. Sentence 4, I wrapped it up in a summary. Let's look at the final paragraph, the conclusion. This is important to get right because although I don't think the IELTS examiners read your exams very carefully, it's important to have a good structure, and I'm sure they look at how your introduction connects to your conclusion. Right. So here's the entire structure of the IELTS essay, the 2-part question. Here's the conclusion. Sentence 1, 2, and 3. Let's have a closer look. Rewrite the general statement. Restate the answer to question 1. Restate the answer to question 2. You can see how repetitive this is becoming. Why is it repetitive? Because we're focused on that particular question prompt and we are not writing about something else. We're not using the same words. And by using different words, we're saying the same idea again and again, and we're sticking on topic, but we're using different language each time. So it's fine to do this. It's not a problem. In fact, you should do this because one of the biggest problems, There are many problems people can have writing their essays, grammar particularly, but task achievement, sticking to the topic is incredibly important. And it's simple if you do this. It's simple if you do this. Let's write the conclusion. So what are we going to do? First sentence, we're going to rewrite the general statement. What's the general statement? Well, it said formal exams are used to assess students at the end of each semester in many countries. Fine, let's rewrite that general statement. You have 3 minutes to rewrite this sentence with this. I want it to have the same meaning, but in different words. You have 3 minutes. All right, here we go. Suda says, assessing students through formal examination is commonly used method in many countries. Good, well done. Method, commonly used method. Well done, perfect, good. You've captured the same meaning, but you've just used different words. This is great, that's fine. What else have we got? It's a minute 30. Victor says, to conclude, commonly used written formal examinations are cost effective and help the financial position of the educational institutes. Not yet, Victor. We're not introducing the answer to question 1 and question 2. We do that next. This sentence simply rewrites the sentence that you're looking at. Why? Because it's an introductory sentence. Herman says, to sum up, a significant number of countries consider to use formal evaluations as a common approach. Do they consider it or do they actually do it? To sum up, a significant number of countries use formal evaluations as a common evaluative approach or common assessment approach. Good, Herman, that's fine. You're just simply rewriting that sentence that's in front of you. Constantine says, throughout the world, students take formal examinations, plural, at the end of each educational cycle. Beautiful, well done. That expresses the exact same meaning as that sentence, but you've used different words, synonyms, different phrases, etc. Joe Marie says, in conclusion, sophisticated types of assessments are used to evaluate students by the end of semester. Sophisticated, just say traditional or formal, something like that. Remember, you're keeping the same meaning as this sentence. That's how you stay on topic. Manvir says, in a nutshell, which personally I don't like. I prefer in conclusion or in summary. Many institutions still follow the standard exam mode of checking students' performance. That's great. Well done. Cool. So what have we done? Well, let me show you what I've done here. I wrote, all around the world, students take formal examinations every semester. I've just simply rewritten that sentence, that general statement. That's it. I did it in the introduction and I did it again in the conclusion. I did it in 2 different ways. I'm sticking right on the topic. Cool. So we've written sentence 1. Let's write sentence 2, then 3, then we're done. So to write sentence 2, we need to restate the answer to question 1, which was, why are these exams used by schools and universities? So please, you have 2 minutes. Herman says, the effectiveness of measuring is undoubtedly a rewarding way. Why are formal examinations used by schools and universities? The effectiveness of formal examinations, something like that. Bring it back to this. This is tricky because it says these. That means formal. Victor says, as mentioned before, this kind of examination is cost-effective and helps the financial position of the educational institutions. Yours is, what you may have done, Victor, is you may have put yourself in your argument might be too small. And what happens when your argument gets too precise or too small is it's hard to think of other ways to say that. So you may want to think about this essay prompt again and expand the idea, go a bit broader. Suda says, this type of exam is believed to be a prominent way of examining students' understanding, full stop, thus it is used widely, or semicolon, thus it is used widely. Good. Joe Marie says, these formal examinations are commonly used by different universities because they are proven to be effective in evaluating students fairly. Good. I hope that sentence was, if you're talking about fairness in your paragraphs, that's good. We don't want to introduce new ideas in the conclusion. The conclusion simply repeats the answer to your question 1 and the answer to your question 2, which you said in your introduction, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Prabhakar says, conducting traditional exams gives the path to understand the student's efficiency. Not the right word, maybe performance might be better. Cool. All right, fine. So here's mine. I'm going to restate the answer to question 1 just as I did in the introduction, but just using different words. Excuse me 1 minute. The alarm's about to go off in my office. Hold on. Sorry about that. It was about to go beep, beep, beep. Fine. Right. So the conclusion is, in fact, a mirror of your introduction. In fact, you do the exact same thing in your introduction and your conclusion, but just in different words. And that's a beautiful beginning and an end to the essay, because again, it's right on topic. So to restate the answer to my question 1, I wrote this. Schools and universities must endeavour to monitor the progress of their students, and formal examination is one way of doing this. Remember in my introduction, I talked about measuring progress. Cool. So we've written sentence 2. We're up to the final sentence of our conclusion and the final sentence of our essay. We simply restate the answer to question 2. We write pretty much in terms of meaning the exact same thing as you did in your introduction, but just in different words. Question 2 asked, what other types of assessment are possible? So please write your final sentence. Good. So Suda has written other types of assessment that can be implemented could be research and projects. Herman's written there are also other satisfying alternatives of evaluating the skills. Good. We need a punchy, I hate to say this in a webinar, we need a sexy sentence. We need a sexy last sentence. We need a sentence that will be kind of memorable. We need to begin the sentence well and we need to finish it well. Jo Marie has said, role-playing and creative works are some of the other possible ways in assessing students other than traditional exams. Good, fine, good, well done. Again, we don't want to introduce new ideas into our conclusion. We're just restating what we wrote in our introduction. That's 2 minutes and 30, another 30 seconds to write your final sentence. It's taking a bit longer. People are thinking of some golden sentences. Maybe you're just writing it on the paper. I don't know. Let's look at mine. Hopefully this is a good one. Fine. So I want to wrap this up. I'm going to say the same thing as I did in the introduction, but maybe I'll connect it back. Maybe I'll make this final sentence have a bit of power, a bit of punch. So I'm going to say this. In spite of the ubiquity of formal assessment, in other words, how common it is, ubiquity, how common it is. In spite of the ubiquity of formal assessment, there are other much more varied and sometimes creative ways to examine students. So I've drawn upon all of the information in my introduction, my paragraphs, and I've written a nice final sentence there. We've written the conclusion, 1, 2, and 3, that's fine. Let me read you my conclusion. It says this, all around the world, students take formal, is that right? Yes. All around the world, students take formal examinations every semester. Schools and universities must endeavor to monitor the progress of their students, and formal examination is one way of doing this. In spite of the ubiquity of formal assessment, there are other much more varied and sometimes creative ways to examine students. Well, maybe the question prompt wasn't the most attractive, interesting question prompt, but that conclusion is pretty much the same thing as my introduction. My paragraphs have gone into detail, giving reasons and examples. The whole thing from beginning to end has been perfectly aimed at that question prompt. It never left. It never talked about something ancillary, never talked about something off topic. Just the whole time it was on topic. And the other thing about doing this, following it sentence by sentence, is I know exactly what to do. When I sit there on exam day and I'm nervous, I go, right, I rewrite general statement. I rewrite question 1, I rewrite question 2. There's no creative thinking in terms of structure. The structure's there. I just need to go bang, 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 bang. By the way, you'll be interested to know that that took you, because you had 2 or 3 minutes, there were 16 sentences, I think. There were 4 and 4 is 8, and then 3 and 3 is 6. And there were 14 sentences in about 2 minutes. That's 28. It took you about 35 minutes. Cool. The essay is complete. This is what it looks like from beginning to end. Feel free, if you're on YouTube, to pause this video and read it from beginning to end. You will see that it's right on topic. It follows, it has a very nice structure, coherence, development. My grammar is fine, so there's no problem there. And vocabulary, well, some of the words like ubiquity, I use the word ubiquity only because it is precise. I use the word per se, for example. I'm just showing off, showing the examiner that I can use some complex vocabulary as well. And also complex sentences. I've got a variety of different sentences. I've got some short ones. I've got some long ones with, the word which, bringing in extra information. I've got some and, but. I've used those connecting words like despite and in addition, and these are like the cherries on top. The structure is what really helps you to get a high grade, knowing the grammar, vocabulary, and that will help you also. Cool. Oh, by the way, I wrote 314 words, but I was typing, so you don't need to write that much. 250, just over. Let's recap this method. The method looks like this. So you sit down on test day, and this is what you see. And you can see that this is the two-part question topic, the two-part question exam prompt. Why? Because there are 2 questions. Fine. So we look carefully at this. And then we think, okay, this has 3 parts. It has a general statement, formal exams, blah, blah, blah. It has question 1 and it has question 2. I now have all the information I need to write my exam from these 3 sentences. The structure I'm going to use will have 4 parts: an introduction, a paragraph, another paragraph, and a conclusion. And it's going to look like this. In the first one, I'm going to rewrite the general statement, introduce my answer to question 1, introduce my answer to question 2. In paragraph 1, I'm going to go into depth about question 1. I'm going to give a solid answer, give reasons, examples, and I'm going to summarize. Paragraph 2, I'm going into depth about question 2, about alternative assessments. I'm going to answer, sorry, that should say question 2. That should say question 2, and that should say question 2. I'm going to give reasons, give examples, and I'm going to sum up. In my conclusion, I'm basically going to rewrite an introduction, but I'm going to give this last sentence a real powerful punch so it wraps up that entire essay. I'm going to hit 250 words, and I'm going to achieve a good IELTS score and never do this test again. That's the plan. Cool. I'm going to stop the recording. If you have any questions, feel free to write them into the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please click like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get much more. Don't forget to go to www.e2language.com, by the way.